horrors, but for whom? Leader Fan Radio Network.
Excuse me?
And KFAN. That's KFAN.com. 1 minute, 52 seconds past the hour of 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. We welcome you back. It is indeed a midweek edition of the Bumper to Bumper program on a rather chilly and overcast Wednesday afternoon here in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. We welcome you to the Abyss. It's officially on today. We had the adrenaline rush of the day after the Vikings season came to a resounding close, quite a thud at that. So I think technically, for me at least, as the host of this program for the better part of the last, what do we decide? We think the show started in March of 1994. No, 1992. So do the math on that. No.
Dangerous.
2002.
Yeah, well, it depends on which show you're talking about.
Which show, yeah. But Chad Barreiro went back to 1992. No, it'll be 2002, I think, we had the divorce. So for the better part of the last 2 decades, I tend to believe this is the first official day of the Abyss. Even though technically the season was already over the day before, there's always that, we got to break it down. We got to do the post-mortem, et cetera. And we'll continue to do that, I'm sure, to varying degrees all week. But to me, this feels like the Abyss. This is it. This is the start, the official Abyss.
Wow.
Earlier than anyone could have possibly imagined. Earlier than I'm excited about. I at least wanted to milk one more week out of this season.
Yeah, we weren't going to be greedy.
We were all hoping for more than that. But yeah, I think, get to the divisional round at least, right? And the divisional round is being played this weekend. We're not in it.
We are not eligible.
No, I don't think we have anything to do with it. There's some nice matchups, and we can certainly talk about that, but that's where we are. I am the host of the program, former Ink Stain Wretch newspaper of the Twin Cities. Dan Barreiro is my name. Guardsy's back from a trip east with the Golden Gopher women's basketball team. They had a date with destiny last night, couldn't finish off a furious late comeback charge against the 8th-ranked Maryland Terps. Cut it to 3, played then the foul game unsuccessfly, end up losing, was it by 8?
7.
7.
99-92.
Moral victory? I'm not offended by that. I tend to not like that term. It's overused. I would accept it in this case, given the cliche that we sure didn't quit, and ultimately maybe even put a scare into former Gopher coach Brenda. Is it Freese still? Freeze. I'm sorry.
Yes.
And the always good to very good Maryland team. Are you with me the rest of the week, or do you have more basketball this week?
I am here the rest of the week.
Outstanding.
We go to Northwestern on Sunday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Are they any good?
No.
Who's good in the Big Ten?
There's like a top tier,
right?
UCLA, USC,
Ooh.
Maryland, and Ohio State.
So we would be in tier 2?
I think so.
At least thus far.
Yeah, thus far they're in tier 2. 5 through 13, very even so far. Northwestern, I believe, winless in the Big Ten.
Okay.
And not going to LA this week for their 2 games against USC and UCLA.
You're not?
They're not.
Oh, they're not.
Because of the wildfires.
Oh, yes, of course.
But it was Northwestern's decision to cancel the trip. It wasn't because USC and UCLA told them not to come.
Well, what's that about? Do we know?
I don't think they wanted to go out there.
They probably just didn't want to get obliterated?
That's what some are saying. So anyway.
That's not a good look.
I don't think so. The Big Ten in their statement basically said Northwestern has decided to not go out to Los Angeles.
So are they going to be... Will they have to forfeit those games, or is the Big Ten letting them off the hook?
So far off the hook.
Okay.
Not really sure, because I think UCLA is playing somebody else tonight. They're playing them at Long Beach because they can't play on campus.
Yes.
But anyway, it's pretty crazy.
The hockey community already checking in to say, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What about, hockey ambassador? What about other sports? We are aware pro basketball is going on now. I still consider it the Abyss. Anything post the Vikings being eliminated, especially in the fashion in which they were, it's the start of the Abyss. It's the end of the seasonal boost. Sorry, that's history. We could hope and wish, the hockey community could wish it was otherwise. The basketball community could wish it was otherwise.
We'll
but
take
that's
it.
just the fact of the matter, and we will obviously explore. In fact, today, Luigi is going to be with us at, 4:30?
Correct.
And we moved him from yesterday because we knew yesterday was going to be a heavy Vikings day. Louis at 3:30, Kessler in studio at 5:30, and Glen Mason is scheduled for the bottom of this hour as well.
Because this is the start of the Abyss, it is, I think, nice that tomorrow we have another load management show. We're out at 6 for Gopher basketball against Michigan.
We are?
Tomorrow, yes. So we don't have to sprint into the Abyss. We're getting a nice little load management night tomorrow.
Is Juwan Howard still coaching at Michigan?
He's not.
I didn't think so.
No, he was let go.
It's been a while, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Are they any good?
Yeah, they're good. They're undefeated, I think, in the Big Ten right now.
The Wolverines?
They're ranked in the top 20.
I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I have not paid attention to them, but is that legit?
We'll find out.
I guess we'll find out. Well,
yeah.
I'm not sure they're going to find out against us.
Well, I didn't say that, Dan.
With all due respect.
I said we'll see how it goes the rest of the way.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I mentioned that we are indeed your house of horrors, but for whom leader? Because, it occurs to me that we have both the hockey team and the basketball team hosting tonight, correct? I believe the Wild are hosting Edmonton.
Yes, right here on the fan.
We are hosting in the second game of a national TV doubleheader, the Golden State Warriors, who have fallen below 500. They are a mess. They just lost to Toronto, who's terrible. I think they lost big to Toronto. They can't score. The Golden State Warriors, they've become actually a more viable defensive team in this most recent iteration, but they have difficulty scoring. Our numbers, if you care about the analytics, we're still top 10 in defense. We're down from a year ago, but still top 10, and our offense still stinks from an efficiency standpoint. Very up and down, very inconsistent. But the stat that caught my eye is that going into tonight's home game, as we mentioned, against Steph and the Golden State Warriors, our home record for 2024-25 is 10-8.
Yeah.
We have, well, let's put it this way. If we want to match last year's home record, you got a pen?
Oh, boy. Should I just get the calculator out?
Or you get the calculator out, whichever's worse.
Whichever's easier. Help me.
Last year, the entire season at home, we finished 30-11.
Oh, wow.
To match that record the rest of the way, I think I can do this math. We will have to go 20-3 at home to match it the rest of 2025.
Not that it really matters, but that's what I got too.
You got that too?
I got that too.
Well,
yeah.
That doesn't mean we're right.
I know.
It just means we're on the
unison.
same. Yeah.
We're in simpatico.
So what was a significant house of horrors for opponents last year has become almost as much a house of horrors for the home team. There is no house of pain quotient for the opposition coming in here. In fact, I think, didn't Golden State beat us here right before Christmas? I think they did.
Sounds right.
Yeah. And I guess we shouldn't be all that surprised by that, given that we've just been erratic wherever we've played, right? Home or road. Even though I know, I think we're like 1.5 games out of second place in the conference or something like, those cliches.
Yep.
I'm so sick of them because they don't really mean much to me. Win more games and get back to me, and I'll get excited about how little gap there is between where we are and, the top 3 spots of the division or top 4, whatever the case may be. So we're
3.5 out of the 3 seed.
Of the 3 seed. There you go.
Yeah.
See?
And we lost by 10 to Golden State December 21st.
So we did, and that was home. That was here, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, if you're doing this thing, if you say to yourself, you can't turn around a season in 1 minute, what you'd say is, well, all right, let's take this in increments. And maybe the first goal should be, let's become more dominant again at home, right? Where presumably you do have some built-in advantages. Let's try to get closer to because we were a great home draw last year. 30-11 is a really nice home record. I'm guessing that's the best home record we've ever had. Don't you think? I would doubt
probably
even
close
in the Buckets year maybe I guess in the best KG year we might have been around there. I guess that is possible. But we're ordinary at home. There's no fear factor when teams come in here And to me, that's where you start. Okay, well, let's start there. Let's start making sure that we don't spit up the bit in home games. I mean, I'd like to give them credit for their last road game, which was played the same night as the Vikings debacle. By all rights, the Wolves would have collapsed even in the fourth quarter and let the Washington Wizards beat them. That would have been more conducive for the mood that night. You know, it would have been like, okay, let's make everything be against us.
It was kind of trending that way for a minute.
It was. Well, if you watched any of it,
I did,
and I watched a decent amount going back and forth. We were dreadful, and as you know, Johnny said yesterday, he said, I can't, I'd use the playing with their food expression. He said, I can't even give them that much credit because that would indicate that it's just a matter of you turning it on. And he basically said, well, no, they were just awful. And their unforced error quotient was very high. And it's hard to give them that much credit for finally pulling away in the fourth quarter as a result, because what that victory still came off as is we're not serious yet. We still haven't figured out either the right buttons to push or we haven't found a way to get ourselves in the right frame of mind, because that should never have been a game, even though ultimately we won it, which is obviously better than losing it. So I sense the crowd at home, I think you've been to more home games than me, is also a little more impatient this year.
No
They're
question.
a little quicker to turn.
Definitely.
And that could easily happen tonight if Steph goes crazy. I think Day, I'm curious to find out if he will play, because I think he sat out their last game, the loss to Toronto. And I don't know if that was load management, injury, whatever. And I don't even know what Day is at this point, to be honest. If he's the same guy that we remember.
He's not.
But
he's been sick.
It was illness.
So he's listed as day-to-day. He's listed as questionable for tonight as of yesterday.
Well, here's the other thing. We're about to get into a meat grinder part of the schedule, too. Right? I think that includes, is it the Cavaliers next? No, I think we have somebody good before the Cavs, and then we have the Cavs. And the Cavs, of course, they're the creme de la creme in the league right now. Now, that might just be a regular season mirage. There's still people who don't trust that they'll be able to carry that forward in the postseason, but they have been monstrously good.
That's Monday here. We have the Knicks in New York on Friday.
The Knicks are up and down a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially when they play better teams. They've almost been a little bit of that paper tiger thing that we talk about. So
here's our next five. At Knicks, Cavs here, at Memphis, at Mavs, and then Denver comes here for a Saturday afternoon ABC game, baby.
Okay.
And Denver's playing well, by the way.
They just destroyed Dallas last night.
We buried Denver in the first 2 weeks of the season and said it's over. They're, I think, the 3 seed or the 2 seed right
back.
now. Yeah, they're back.
Well, I guess that goes to show you. You can figure it out. You can turn it around a little bit.
They're the 4, 24 and 15.
And that's another way beyond the home deal. That's, I guess, a way to get, now that the Vikings are out of the way and the Wolves are going to get a lot more attention among the casual fan, you got 2 ways to go with this. You can take full advantage of that by saying, even through this 6-game stretch, we're figuring some stuff out. Or you can continue to play around with your food and go belly up and back and forth and up and down. And then even more people are going to notice because, as Johnny and I talked about yesterday, that's been one of the Wolves' advantages, frankly, is that the team has not had the undivided attention it probably had a year ago when the Vikings didn't even make the postseason. We'll make this our first pause. When we come back, does the mantra, you've got 2.5 seconds, mean anything to you? You've got 2.5 seconds. Think about it during the break. We'll come back and we will review exactly what that means and its relevance to your favorite professional football team. Mace in my face in about 10 minutes in a symbolic sense, because he will not be in studio. He will be joining us by phone. Kessler will be in my face in studio in the 5. There's a lot to get to regarding the shenanigans in St. Paul, Minnesota at the state capitol. And in between, Luigi makes his weekly appearance. That is scheduled for 4:30 this very afternoon. Let's play this. You were out yesterday because you were working. But I know you're familiar with some of these plays. But to sort of whet your appetite, or maybe actually make you lose your appetite, let's replay one of the Vikings talking points from yesterday's programs. We call this one the sack exchange.
Four receivers. Darnold steps away from pressure for a second, but then he is sacked. Darnold back to pass. The pocket is claustrophobic, and he's sacked. Steps up in the pocket. He's holding it too long.
Just run.
Throw it, man. Bounces around in the pocket, and he's sacked for a sixth time. The Rams have hit the pick six with sack. Sam bouncing around, looking, holding the ball, and getting destroyed again.
Just throw it.
Back to pass, and he's taken down for an eighth time. 8 sacks on Sam Darnold.
You know, he could have thrown that football easily, but decided not to.
Right.
And took another sack.
Well, that's nice.
So that's
He's been sacked 9 times.
9 for today. I mean, that's an epic number.
Yes. It's the deadpan aspect of that exchange.
All of it.
It's been brilliant this whole year. I bring it up because a lot of people are saying, hey, are you going to play the PA meltdown? We did yesterday. Other people have picked up on it, I guess, and it's gone national. But it was part of our talking points yesterday about PA losing his mind on, throw the ball.
He's holding it too long.
He's holding it too long. It was absolutely brilliant. But that, of course, was one of the headliner aspects of this story, and it is directly related to, let me get the exact quote again precisely as it was uttered. Where is it? I got to find it. It's here somewhere. You have 2.5 seconds. And the man who uttered those words via X used to play quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. During the game, Tommy Kramer, clearly as frustrated as PA and a lot of other people about the way Sam Darnold went about his business in that playoff game, may have even been screaming it as a former NFL quarterback. You have 2.5 seconds. You have to make a decision. And by the way, that decision can be throwing the ball away.
Yeah.
That is, Stafford did that several times.
Including once illegally.
Yeah, well, that's another story, but it's the right call. For me, it's undeniably.
It's not a fumble.
It's why he's such a smart quarterback. He was fully aware of what he was doing. We can argue about intentional grounding.
Yes.
But people, here's what doesn't make sense to me. How many times on an aborted screen pass do we see the quarterback throw it right into the ground the same way? It's just there's a little more distance involved. But that's the same concept. It's no different. And technically isn't, I mean, you could make the argument that's grounding. Because that's the quarterback saying, this play has no chance to go anywhere, so I'm just going to throw the ball straight into the turf where it has no chance to be. What's the difference? There's no difference.
The difference is he's already being taken to the ground.
Doesn't matter.
He's not
giving it up. He's not tackled yet. I know it. I know you're hurt from it, but I think it was the right call. Sorry. It was the right call. Do you deny it was the right call?
I do deny it was the right call. It shouldn't have been a fumble, which some people still think it is. No, that was a disastrous call. It should be intentional grounding for sure.
Well, we can have that
That's
discussion.
what I'm saying.
But the receiver's there. So again,
he didn't know he was throwing to him.
How many times is that true? And then we have to have rules clarification on how much you're going to allow the referee to make that determination.
I think if your face is already in the ground, you shouldn't be able to backhand it and just get rid of it. That's my line of distinction.
That's a smart, but it was not.
Well, of course, it's a smart play.
It's not a fumble.
I didn't say it was a fumble.
Okay, but a lot of people still. I mean, that's the other sound we didn't play yesterday. The PA Bursich meltdown. Well, first the celebration when it looks like we're about to tie the score 10-10.
Yeah.
And then the reversal. It was maybe we find it later. It was very entertaining. Let's put it that way.
I believe that. Yeah.
I'm digressing on all of this to get back to the original point. It just amuses me and fascinates me when a former Vikings quarterback, is as frustrated as anybody else, trying to make the point that you obviously have to get rid of the ball quicker. Now, I said yesterday, you may not agree with this because I think it's a minority opinion. Darnold was dreadful again.
Yep.
But I don't think Darnold was the whole problem yesterday at all.
I agree with that.
Because a lot of where we say, well, he had the ball for 6 seconds, that almost implies that he had all of that time, a clear pocket, no pressure, and in fact, many of those plays, he was under some measure of duress from the beginning of the play, and then it was, well, did he handle it well? The answer is no. To me, the biggest mistake he made in this game was not he just run it for 4 yards.
As Lieber told you before the game.
Yeah.
Lieber said that multiple times. Go be an athlete a couple of times. He was doing that so well at the beginning throughout the whole season. He would extend plays. He would pick up first downs with his own legs. He would get 4 or 5 yards to make it 2nd and 5.
Correct.
Or 3rd and 3, whatever it is. He did very little of that. So because everybody had an opinion on whose fault it was.
Yes.
And and
it's shared, obviously.
Of course.
Is the right answer. It's not very declarative, but it's true.
And every former quarterback did some type of breakdown over whose fault it was on all the sacks, right? And so it kind of depends on who you
listen to.
And there's some where Darnold absolutely were his fault. There were others where the offensive line clearly didn't hold up. There are also others where KOC's got to read the room guy and know we don't have that today. We can't dial up this shot. We can't.
Well, that's a repeat of the week before.
I know, and that's why I think it's all shared.
And it is, and we got into that a lot again yesterday. That now again, there were a couple of you could call quick passes. He also was just not accurate. A swing pass to Jones that was like thrown like 8 yards ahead of him.
Aikman was nice about that one. Did his best.
He did.
Like if you're not connected on that,
exactly. So there was an accuracy problem for him again. But I honestly think that that for all the great work that the head coach has done, I think he failed Darnold again because he continued to be stubborn with we do what we do, and we're about 27 yards downfield, and we're just not going to stop doing it, and sooner or later we're going to be able to break through. And the third tentacle of this is the offensive line. And as Seifert reminded us yesterday, as much emphasis as there's been on the interior. The truth is that there were breakdowns everywhere.
It's true.
Along the offensive line.
Even Brian O'Neill.
Yeah, exactly right. And then, of course, we had the injury late that hurt us at right tackle. But the fact is they were getting pressure from all different places. And I honestly think they did steal from Aaron Glenn. They just did it a different way. They didn't have, that many, like sending 8 guys because they don't need to. They got a good defensive line. But they sent extra people. In fact, I think it was a cornerback who caused the strip sack that resulted in the fumble return for touchdown that did hold up. Although the tweet of the night, I don't know if you saw it, I think, the tweet of the night was from Fallness after that strip sack in which he said, I think Darnold was trying to pass it. It's brilliant. I think it should have been an incomplete pass, which was well played. Very well played. Unusual for a guy who's so hockey-centric.
That's true.
To be able to think out of the puck box, so to speak.
Wasn't it 12 Rams that were credited with the quarterback pressure?
I mean, that's
to your point. There's only 11 on the field at a time.
Unbelievable. Minus 82 yards. The most yards lost in the history of the postseason. That's hard to do, man. So that's got to be a shared responsibility. But God bless Tommy Kramer in the middle of it saying, you have 2.5 seconds. I know. I used to play quarterback in the National Football League. Our next guest, I don't think ever played NFL football. He played college football. And he also, of course, coached at the college level. We've got a national championship game now set. Our next guest will help preview it. We might also talk some pro football with him. Mace in my face. That's
It's time for another edition of Mace in Your Face. Now, along with college football immortality, Glen Mason, here's Dan Barreiro.
Carrie Limo is the fine sponsor of the Mace in Your Face segment. If you have questions or comments for the former Gophers basketball. Well, he did tennis, but in this case, football coach. Hit the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. That is 64686. Mace, did you play any high school basketball? Were you like a multi-sport guy in high school?
I did. I wasn't any good, but I played. But I'm going to tell you, you blame me for stuff all the time, and now I'm the basketball coach too.
I'd like to blame you
and
for
won a
even
Big
more.
Ten game, and now you're pinning that on me?
Yeah,
Come on,
that might be a little much. So how would you describe your what position did you play? Were you like a power forward, kind of a brawn guy? What did you do in high school basketball?
Yeah, I was a kind of an enforcer. Heck
I like it.
You know,
I love that. Every team needs an enforcer.
Yeah.
Knock people around.
I was a try hard guy.
That's it. Yeah.
You know, I'm going to tell you a story. When I was he played junior high basketball and stuff. Now when I was in high school, my position coach was also the wrestling coach.
Ah.
And as a sophomore, he says, you don't need to play basketball. You need to come out and wrestle and make you a better, linebacker, football player. And he had me convinced. So I told the basketball coach, hey, I'm not coming out this year. I'm going for wrestling. And that afternoon, I was in lunch. I loved lunchroom, with my guys.
Sure.
And I was sitting there with my normal lunch brown paper bag with 2 sandwiches that Mom made, And the guy came in, the wrestling coach, and he took the lunch away from me. And I go, what are you doing? He says, we got to get you down to 178 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And walked out with the lunch. I walked right out. I went down to the basketball coach. I said, I'll be at practice today. So,
I love it.
enough of that stuff.
Face.
I don't blame you. Yeah, wrestling, well, the stories are legendary, right? Of you got to
oh, yeah.
burn off extra calorie or extra pounds. You got to steam, you got to go into the steam room. And some of this stuff is pretty unhealthy historically.
Back then, yeah. Hey, I'm fired up today. I got to get going here.
All right, let's go. Let's go. I'm
a little fired up. Okay. Hey, the great news. My man Greg Esslinger finally got into the College Football Hall of Fame. You knew that, didn't you?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, oh, yeah. It got announced today.
No thanks to you.
That I don't deserve any credit. I don't want to, but it's long overdue. And I got to mention that the guy, David Shamma, you got to give that guy a lot of credit. He called me a couple of years ago and he said, why isn't Greg Esslinger in the College Football Hall of Fame? I said, David, I don't have any answer. Well, anyway, he went to work and he called me periodically, and he, along with the local chapter of the College Football Hall of Fame, got him in. But think about Greg Esslinger, okay? People forget, okay, when he played for the Gophers, he was a 2-time All-American. As a senior, he was a consensus All-American. He was the Big Ten Lineman of the Year, first Gopher ever to win that award.
Yeah.
He won the Remington Award, which is the top center in the country. He won the Outland Trophy, which is like the lineman Heisman, okay? During that time, the Gophers led the Big Ten in rushing 2 years in a row. 1 year, almost 280 yards a game. That's almost unbelievable when you think about it. And when you think about those awards that he won, to think that he won those from the University of Minnesota, that's no small feat. And that's not a crack on Minnesota. I'm saying when you're not at a blue blood school and you win those awards, that tells you just how good he is. Now, my big question, why I'm fired up, Guardsy, why isn't he on the Ring of Honor in that stadium?
Never heard you ask that before.
It's a crime. I mean, it's an absolute crime. I can't believe it. And the other two guys,
I still blame you. Get out front of that.
Wait. I'm not done.
All right.
The other 2 guys that I talk about, Matt Spaeth, who won the Mackey Award, which is the top tight end in the country, and Tyrone Carter, the Thorpe Award top defensive back. These are national awards, and they're not up there. And you know what's really a crime that's got me fired up? Now listen to this. Matt Spaeth isn't even in the M Club Hall of Fame.
How is that
he
possible?
Is not. It's criminal. I'm telling you it is.
Guardsy, who's in charge of this kind of stuff at the U?
I'll have to look into it.
Yeah.
Now, Mace, in fairness to Mace, in fairness to Guardsy, it's not his fault. I mean,
no, I know
he should
that.
probably do some more due diligence.
I know the media.
He's my liaison.
Yeah, that's
true.
You know what I mean? That's fair.
I know we vote for the M Club Hall of Fame every year. The media, the ballots get sent out.
Oh, so it's a media jackal problem.
Yeah, I'm sure I voted for Matt Spaeth before. I'm going to have to take a look and see if he was on the ballot.
Interesting.
You'd like to look at that list on some of the people that are in there.
Well, Joel Maturi got in last year.
What?
Joel Maturi got in last year. That was, I think.
Is he really in there?
Yeah,
I think
yes, he's in there.
Overdue.
You know that. We've talked about it.
You presented him. We did the whole thing.
I knew he had a building named after him, but in the M Club?
You gave the speech. You don't even remember, do you?
Yeah, I gave a speech. Yeah, I'll give it to you.
Hey, can I mention one other thing, though?
Yeah.
In fairness, because you're right. I mean, Esslinger, it's an amazing story. But didn't you inherit him? Wasn't he a whacker recruit?
No,
Oh.
no, you're wrong.
Okay.
No, you're wrong. No, you're wrong.
All right. Just wanna
Again,
double check.
fact
and fiction. Yeah.
Fact and fiction. I'm fact. You're fiction.
Have
Now,
you
here's
called?
another thing
Well, go
that
ahead.
you ought to do. I'm giving you a little tip of what you need to do.
All right.
You know, I'm a man of the people.
No question.
I travel around. I'm all over the place,
You
right?
are.
I'm not just talking about Minnesota.
No, you're every man.
And people see me. Occasionally, they recognize me and they'll say, "Coach," and they start asking me, firing me questions on this revenue sharing that's now in college athletics.
Yes.
And NIL and collectives. And I got to be honest with you, I don't know. There was a person from North Dakota. You imagine that, North Dakota, holy buttons, some person from North Dakota approaching me and asking me about, this revenue sharing, and said, well, it says $20.5 million a team. And does every school have to do it? Did they do it to all the sports? Does every player in every sport get the same amount of money? And then they asked me about NIL and collectibles, and I just don't have the answers. I got to be honest with you. I think that there's an interest out there. You need to get Mark Coyle on your show with a list of these questions so that he can explain it to people. I'd like to explain it. I don't have the answer.
Well, you know what? That's a good suggestion. Here's my suggestion. We ought to bring Coyle on next time you're on with me, and you are part, because you're going to ask better questions about this as a former coach than I will. How about that idea?
Well, I would.
You would do that, right?
I'd like to ask the questions because I don't have the answer, and I just like to know because people ask me all the time, and I feel uninformed because I am uninformed.
Yeah, that's fair. I think, and it would be good to get a little bit more detail on, because for a lot of people,
and then the other thing I'd like to do, like I do with you, I'd love to sit there eyeball to eyeball and say, why isn't Esslinger, Spate, and Carter on that Ring of Honor? That's what I'd really like to do.
You have every right to ask that question. I mean, Coyle is a big boy. He's an athletic director at the U. I mean, we don't hear from him a lot. Other than the only guy he'll go on with is Guardsy.
I talk to him every week. I've asked him these questions about revenue. What do you want to know?
Yeah. You didn't have the answers?
You got to listen to the pregame show. Yeah, he tells us what's going on.
Okay, so all right, so there's $20.5 million.
Yep.
So how much of that is going to each sport at the University of Minnesota?
My information, he has not confirmed this, but there's going to be 5 sports at Minnesota that take part in the revenue sharing. It's going to be football, the basketballs, hockey, and volleyball.
How much to each sport?
The percentages, we don't know the percentages for sure yet, but I've heard about 70% to football. And then
is that high enough for you?
So
and then the rest
say 70% goes to football. Do you take that and evenly divide it to every guy on the team?
You do not. You can.
It's up to you.
I don't know if they're doing
that's
it.
Up to every school.
What are they going to do? I don't care what they can.
Right.
What are they going to do?
I wouldn't imagine that they will not give an equal spot. I don't know that for sure.
Mace, what would you do, or what would you recommend if you were still coaching, if you're part of that process? How do you figure that out?
Well, I think the only thing you can do, and even though it might not be fair that all the players get the same, I think you'd have to evenly distribute amongst the players on the team, or it just adds again to the image out there, which is true. There's pay to play in college athletics now.
Yeah, but
there just is.
Yes, there is, but I think practically, even among players, there's going to be some understanding that there's a pecking order. Correct? There has to be.
Well, yeah. Until what happens is all of a sudden you pay one player this amount, and he doesn't end up being the starting quarterback. He's the second team.
That's where it's tricky. Yeah,
then it really when I was at Kent State, and it was Division I, but we didn't operate on the same number of scholarships as that you could have. The conference didn't, the full number, so you could break the scholarships up, even so that the total aggregate guys on scholarship couldn't exceed the total allowable number. You get my drift. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So some guys would be on a tuition, another guy would be on books, another guy would be on room and board. That caused all kinds of problems. Believe me when I tell you that.
I do believe it. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, Guardsy only has part of the answers. I want the true answers.
Okay. Well, that's
coming.
That's the dogged reporter in you. That it's always been there.
Yeah.
We didn't always know it existed because you were in a different role before, but that's why maybe we get Coyle on and we get you with it. I mean, because you're gonna be able to in real time, I think, react and say, well, wait a minute, now I coached. Here's my question. How does this explain that? Whatever. I mean, you may have him on the defensive. I mean, who's to say?
Yeah.
Why
would you ever ask a guy, as you would say, that's ever been in the beast of the belly, how things work? You know?
Yeah, you think that makes too much sense?
They don't do that.
No, they don't. That's right. Yeah, you're very right.
But let me go back again. I got fired up today.
Yeah,
I'm so happy for Esslinger, but it can't rekindled.
Yes, we had a hunch it might.
Anger that these other guys aren't, and believe me. And I say, someone's out there going to say, I know, say, oh, he's just trying to blow his horn about these guys. I don't care. I'm way by that. But if someone doesn't fight for these kids that I coached, who's going to fight for them? Because I brought this up many times, and it doesn't seem to get done. Right, Guardsy?
Oh, maybe this will be the it
hasn't gotten done since. I know there's been discussions.
Some things, right? Maybe this will be the opening. The opening has been created with this piece of news. Here's what you have to decide. You have to decide what the best strategy is. Because I think so far your strategy is to embarrass the University of Minnesota into making that move. And you might have a right to, but maybe that's not the most effective way to get through to them. I'll give you a good example. For Pro Football Hall of Fame, Sid Hartman was the Minnesota representative, therefore the Vikings representative, right? So anytime a Viking was up for the possibility of being nominated for Hall of Fame, he's the guy who had to sort of lead the charge and present the argument, right? Well, Vikings kept getting turned down, okay? Good ones. And at some point, the word got out a little bit that part of it was all Sid would do is browbeat the other voters. And he'd basically say, and you're an idiot if you don't do this. And you can't possibly think that Jim Marshall isn't worth it, whatever the case may be. Well, your guy, Mark Craig, who you got along with swimmingly, I'm told, back in the day, he took his place. And you know what Craig started doing? He started going more strategic. Less lecturing, more, all right, here's 5 things you might not have realized about, I don't know how many Vikings players he's gotten in, but he's gotten a bunch in. And
is Jim Marshall in?
No, he didn't get Marshall in, unfortunately.
That's the guy you brought up. So I just want for clarity. I wanted to
I blew that. I should have picked one that he did get in. All right, but lo and behold, the approach has been a lot more, it's not foolproof, it's not automatic. So that's what you have to decide. You want to continue to try to embarrass the university?
Well, let me correct.
All right.
Well, let me correct you, Mr. Uninformed.
All right.
This has been my last resort. I've been I tried the way that you talked about before. I brought it up.
Okay.
In a very academic, cerebral approach because I thought it would be a no-brainer. I got nowhere, and then I got to the place to where people like Dave Shamma, they think I've got pull, that I'm the guy that's going to make the decision, that I can get something done. And I got to the place where I was very frustrated, which I still am frustrated. And I thought, you know what? Why not take the fight publicly? Because it's not getting it done. It's not fair to those kids.
So those kids. This is last resort for you, is what you're saying.
Yelling at me, basically.
Yelling
every couple of months.
And bringing it up every other show, et cetera. Well, we'll see. Maybe now we'll start more dialogue. I'm not exactly sure. You know what you're? I
thought I would get help from you and Guardsy, but I was wrong.
No, I'll be glad to do whatever you think I need to do. It's very clear to me, though, from this conversation, that David Shamma is going to get to the Churchill room a lot quicker than Guardsy or me.
He's probably there right now, house sitting.
Yeah, on the basis of what the story you've told. You've spoken so glowingly of him.
He got this done. He's got a key to my front door.
And the boat, probably, in the summer, right?
You bet it. He got it. Let me tell you something. Some guys deliver.
Yeah.
Some guys don't.
Yeah, okay.
Shamma delivered. Guardsy didn't.
Wow.
That's just the way it is.
A lot of pressure on Guardsy now going forward. All right, real quick here, because you've been on such a roll. We're running out of time already. National championship game is coming up. Is it Monday night? And it features your alma mater, Ohio State, taking on the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. So before we get to that matchup, what did you think about the Texas play calling from the goal line that ultimately led?
Terrible.
Bad? You didn't like it?
Terrible.
How come?
Terrible. Well, here's one of the things that, and I'm a dinosaur with coaching, okay? I'm just saying. When you get down first and goal at the 1 or 2, it drives me crazy when I see the quarterback in the shotgun, number one. I don't understand that.
I agree with that. Yep.
You know, I mean, why take the ball 5 to 7 yards off the line? And but you go down and you got first and goal at the 2, and then you run one ball, and then you run that toss sweep to the left there, and they lose 7 yards. I mean, again, I know I'm wrong because I hear those announcers on TV like Herbstreit all the time say Sarkisian's the best play caller since peanut butter, and I don't know. I just don't understand that.
So yeah, when you said when you're asking then for one of your players to basically, you're on the 1.5 or wherever they were. You then ask the running back to, okay, we're going to have you start at the 9 when we're at the 1.5 or 2. That is confounding to me. I would honestly rather, even in the way the game's played today, 4 straight runs up the middle. I really would. I'd take my chances on 4 of those if one of your alternatives is we're going to go back to the 8 or 9 yard line and try to get. It makes no sense because that was Texas was in position. Right, that they had Ohio State on its heels a little bit,
Absolutely, yeah. I guarantee when they tossed the ball off the line and the Ohio State tackle from -7, I guarantee you, Ryan Day says, "Are you kidding me?" And first of all, I can tell you that if Woody Hayes was watching that, he rolled over in his grave.
I'm sure he did.
I mean? But you know what I like is that I like the quarterback under center. I like the run.
Yes.
Either up the middle or up the off tackle power, or the pass that I like that always seems to work is when you run the off tackle power fake pass and the fullback sneaks out in the flat.
I'm with you there. That's a good idea too.
Then it's kind of wide open.
Do the Fighting Irish have any chance Monday night?
I don't think so. And one of the things that's amazing to me is that Ohio State, who everybody said all year long had more talent than anybody in the country, but they just didn't play like that. And then they got embarrassed against the University of Michigan and lost a game where they were favored by, 19 points or something. And then ever since then, they're playing like the most dominant team in football. And so I think that I think they were so embarrassed by that Michigan game that they're now focused. And I think that Marcus Freeman ever since they lost to Northern Illinois, he's done a great job. He's done a fabulous job of coaching there. I think that they're playing Notre Dame as good as anybody as a team, together. But I think Ohio State's playing really good as a team, and they got better talent. And that's why I think Ohio State will win.
You'll appreciate this text from Goat Guy. I'm glad Mace is getting on Guardsy. That guy hardly works. It's time to give him something else to do. Another job wouldn't hurt him, after all. Wow. So Goat Guy.
Well, he's got a lot of things on his plate. I never say that he's a slacker. He just has his priorities out of order.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair.
And being that we're so close to friends, I would have thought that one of his top priorities would have helped these kids that deserve to be in the Ring of Honor. He'd have got that done.
Well,
then you know what would have happened? He would have been right in the Winston room with Shama.
Think about it. Just
the 3 of us.
They would have been sharing the charcuterie you put out for a nice appetizer spread. Think about it.
You bet.
And now,
I guarantee you that.
No factor. Absolutely no factor. Final thoughts. A crushing end to a great regular season for the Minnesota Vikings. The game can be cruel, Mace. It really can, because so in a matter of moments, we're going from Darnold is being lifted in the air in the locker room after they beat the Packers in the second to last game of the regular season to they're done. It's already over. It's a cruel game, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it is a short walk from the penthouse to the outhouse in athletics, and that's a classic example, right there. And I can just tell you that, watching those last two games, and from a coach's perspective, and I've never coached pro football, but I look at it and I think, if I was a pro coach, a GM or whatever, and I was trying to build a team, here's the three areas that I'd really, really be concerned with, okay? Number one is quarterback. In that league, if you don't have a really, really good quarterback, you don't have much of a chance. Number two is cornerbacks, defensive cornerbacks, because with the skill level in that league, if you don't have some guys that can line up there and play man coverage, that guy from Louisiana Tech that played for the Lions from the state of Louisiana that played against Jefferson in high school.
Yes.
Man, that guy, wow.
He was tough.
Okay?
Yeah, he was very tough.
And then the last is the offensive line.
Yeah.
Now, that's been going around forever. You hear coaches at every level use the old football adage, which is so true. If you can't control the line of scrimmage, you can't win. And when you give up 8 or 9 sacks or whatever it was,
9,
your quarterback has no chance. And so, it was a great year with a bad ending.
Would you recommend, on the basis of the way it finished, that the Vikings still try to find a way to keep Darnold? Or do you say, hey, it was a nice run, we appreciate you, we tried to get the best out of you, but we've got to move on because we saw too many red flags down the street?
Without a doubt, I'd keep him.
You would
without
keep
a doubt.
him? Interesting.
Without a doubt. Because did he play well? No, but I'll tell you something. I'm going to go back to that offensive line. Who would have played good as a quarterback under pressure like he was?
It was bad.
I mean, come on. Yeah. No way. And, the other thing that, and I don't know what I don't know, but J.J. McCarthy, with that knee injury, they say he's ahead of schedule. Well, I coached a long time. I never is a big word. I never had a guy that had knee surgery and was going great and ahead of schedule, like they said, that had another surgery.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, that's true.
So I see him on the sideline. He's got that thing on his leg like Tiger Woods has.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a long time ago he got hurt. I hope the kid's fine.
Right.
But I just think how everybody is so excited that we're coming so close that you'd let Darnold go, and then maybe McCarthy's not happy, and then you got the guy that the Giants
Daniel
let go.
Jones.
I don't know.
Well, to your point, I mean that's you're speaking basically to the strength of the Lions in certainly two of the areas you mentioned. Quarterback, Goff has developed into a really good one, and their offensive line is the best in football. And they got like 50 of them. It's unbelievable. And sometimes they line up 4 extra ones. They are, and you know what they did? They invested draft picks over many years. That offensive line is the best in football, no question.
Yeah, and one other thing the Lions got going right now, I always say, football is the greatest team game that's ever been invented. And when you have that intangible team or whatever, when you look at the Lions, how they've been decimated on defense with injuries, and they keep, next man up mentality, whatever, you can talk that, but it just doesn't happen. They got something special there right now.
Yeah, Dan Campbell, I think he's coach. He should still be coach of the year, even though they were highly ranked.
I absolutely agree.
I just think the way they finished the game against the Vikings, and given all those injuries, and I don't know I don't know if he's a blue. If he's like some people say, well, what's his strength? Is he really a X's and O's guy? I don't care. If he delegates and everything, his job is more, I'm kind of in charge of the whole operation. I don't think you can argue with the results.
Yeah. Now, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up because I laugh all the time. I do. I coached 14 years as an assistant coach, Okay. And when I first got my head job, I thought, man, I've spent the last 14 years, and wow, this is a lot different than I thought it was going to be. But why you think that because a guy is supposedly a guru offensive coordinator or guru defensive coordinator, that he's going to go and sit in that head seat and be great? I always was amazed, these guys that the pro teams would hire from the New England Patriots. And the guy who supposedly was a great offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator. And you know what Belichick was? He was the head coach. That's what he was,
exactly
okay?
Right, yeah.
But these guys would go, and rather than trying to emulate Belichick, they'd still think, oh, we won because I was the offensive coordinator in New England. And they fell flat on their face. There's a lot more to that.
Yeah, there is. I think a lot of teams are more interested in the BMI of the head coach than anything else. You know, these lean, slim, yoga pantsed coaches. I mean, there's a bunch of them in the league, and they all look great.
Yeah.
But you know, as you've reminded me before, winning the press conference is one thing. Winning the aesthetic look on the sidelines is one thing. Being a very good head coach is something else.
Yeah, let me tell you this. I give one tip to any organization, anyone out there.
Right.
If you want to take your program to the next level, go find a tight end coach that hasn't coached anything but tight ends, and that will be the answer.
I didn't see that coming.
In your face.
I didn't see the sarcasm on that one coming. That was very well played. All right, we're going to see.
It wasn't sarcasm at all.
No snark at all. The rumor is we're going to see you in studio next week. Is that correct?
I will be there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll see you then.
Absolutely.
Enjoy the national championship. I appreciate you being so worked up. Mason, your face on fire today. Thanks to our good friends at Carey Limo. We've got the bumper-to-bumper seal of approval today. We've got Ode to a Dead Guy today. We may even go with that next. Stay tuned.